Hello, how's everybody doing? Finally, this is another ex-Jehovah Witness YouTube, and of course, we know that this is going to be on on Jehovah Witnesses are followers, and ex-Jehovah Witnesses are individuals, and that's going to be the title. But I'm going to give my introduction first because I haven't been back in a long time on my ex Jehovah Witness tapes. Yeah, I got my hair cut. I didn't cut. I mean, it's going to be lower, but since I had so much hair, I told them I didn't want to cut it all the way down. I just wanted a little bit shaped more. But I mean, the person that did it, uh, I didn't. I just told them I wanted it short but not long, and they were like, "Short." I mean, wait. I told them I wanted my hair short but not too short. Okay. Anyway, this is what they came up with, and because it was so long, basically I just wanted to cut it. So that's why it's not styled or anything. I mean, it's kind of styled, but that's why it's like this, because I didn't want to just go all the way down and tell him to shape it and stuff like that either, because I don't know too much about fashion. Anyway, he goes, "How does it look?" And I go, "I don't know, because I don't know about fashion." So he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." And then I told myself I'll be back in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to do it a little bit more, like the way, I mean, a little bit more like shaped up. So it's not really shaped up. So anyway, that's about that. So anyway, I went through a lot. I'm working on music videos, yes. But I got some changes that's gonna happen. I told my friend specifically, she called me and she's on this, I mean, she listens to the channel also, and I told her specifically what I was doing. But I could just tell you I'm doing like life changing things. I mean, what I'm saying is that everything is so expensive, and I figured I had to get trained and to do something else that, gave more money. The job I got now is good, and I get to do a lot of YouTubes, and I get to study a lot. So that's why I really like it. And I would continue with it. Continue. I got that from some of my friends who didn't speak English, but I would continue with it. However, the way things are going, because everything is continually being expensive, so I wanted to keep up with, because I don't like to retire. I don't want to ever retire. I never had my mindset on retiring. I was always thinking about. I always thought about, yeah, continually working. I never thought when I retire. I never think that way. So anyway, you already know that because I told you a lot of that all the time. So now we're going to get into the discussion that we have as far as Jehovah Witnesses, our followers, and ex-Jehovah Witnesses, our individuals. Okay. So first, I want to say, what is a follower? A follower is someone who. Okay, we're not talking about computer like social media. A follower is more like a group of people who follow something. Okay, following is like, like you follow. Everybody knows what follow means. So like the Jehovah Witness, they follow like the governing body. Whatever they say do, they do. Okay, because, and it's even more true because my brother just told me, because I talked to him. He's not a Jehovah Witness. He left the religion. He was in fellowship, and he left the religion. And I was talking to him, and he was saying that our sister, um, they can talk to you now. Okay, I don't know, because I haven't talked to them since people started saying that they can talk to us now. Just saying they can talk to us now, which is one truth that we told, and they always said it's not true, was that they used to say that they didn't shun you, but they do shun you, because they're actually saying to my brothers and sisters who are in the Jehovah Witness, they're saying that, okay, you can talk to them now. However, this meeting happened, and now they're talking. I mean, I've had two. My friend who's also ex-Jehovah Witness, she told me about that, and she said, well, sort of is true, but it has like limits or whatever. And my brother said it's true because he now talks to his ex. He's able to communicate with his ex-wife. His daughter is able to commit to talk to, her mother. I don't want to get into their politics. So I'm just showing you that it is true that they're allowing something. So just them to allow something means that it was true. We weren't crazy saying that they were shunning us, because now they just made it clear that they can talk to us. And that should that ring bells in their mind? Yes. But remember, this is I'm showing you what a follower is, because they're followers, they're not individuals, which there are some individuals there, because I'm sure some individuals, but not in my family, had a bell ring off and say, wait, you said that we couldn't, now we can. So, that's now I'm getting into an individual. That's individual thinking into saying, if they say that, then that means they're going toward being an individual. So an individual is somebody who thinks on it. Now I'm getting into my definition of individual, okay? And when I say something, because I have a lot of, could I say theories? I don't know what you would call them, beliefs or whatever. But I'll tell you that I do speak a lot of things that I believe. But I even put it on my resume, because I put the YouTubes because I needed to use it because for this school. And in the YouTube and in my section, I put it under experience. And I said my YouTube is very raw. Okay, and I said there's no choice thumbnails, there's no editing, and there's no script. Okay, and why did I say that? Okay, there's something I'm missing. Okay, so I'm missing a point that I wanted to say, and we were talking about individuals. And when I said about individuals, I was trying to explain about what an individual, because I lost the point, so I got to keep going, and I'm going to find it. So now I'm describing what an individual is to me. Okay, so I was saying about different beliefs that I have. I mean, I believe certain things, but I put on on the resume under experience that my concept, with my channel, people are entertained by forming their own concept. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. Okay, so that's why I told you about, like on my resume, and I put it on my resume. So I wanted to show you, like as I showed them on my resume, that on my channel, you pretty much have to form your own concept. I'm telling you about the things that I believe. I'm telling you about my concepts, and it's just to show you what I came up with. And you could agree with or you could not agree with, but you still, on my channel, have to come up with your own concept. Why? Because I'm not explicitly telling you my personal concepts. I mean, I'm telling you, but I'm not saying it in a matter that I want you to believe this or I want you to believe that. But what I want you to do is entertain yourself and come up with your concept of what I'm talking about. Okay, so now individual. What is an individual? What is this individual that I'm talking about in this conversation that we're having, or discussion, this conversation, I would think. Um, first of all, I use there's examples I want to use. Helen Keller, she was a genius who could not speak or see, okay, because of some sickness she had when she was a child, okay, and that is a personal experience. I read her book. Like I said, I don't know if it was an autobiography. My friend's rating, because I got confused with this autobiography biography. And, okay. So anyway, I don't know if it was a bibliography that she it was a bibliography or autobiography that I read, but I read a book of Helen Keller. Who is Helen Keller? You can look it up. Of course, you can Google it, but you can look it up on YouTube also. Some people say that, which I was surprised, but they have people saying that they doubted her being the things that she could do. But like I was telling my friend, the reason why is because she was a lady. If you notice in history, most ladies are not seen as geniuses, no matter what. It's just the way our society is. Also, black people, black women, especially black men, they're not seen as geniuses. Okay, they figured out things. I even had a professor, believe it or not, when I took history. It was history in my history class, and he goes, they were talking about inventions, and he goes, there's no inventions that blacks have. I mean, he was serious, and he didn't say it in a demeaning way. He just said it from his knowledge that there was nothing that black people have invented. Okay, and he said it. That was like in the year 2000 something. Okay, so he said it after the year 2000, and I not that I believed him, but I was thinking, well, that was like, if you know the way my mind works, that was like something I put on the screen. Is that true? You know what I mean? I'm not that I believed everything he said, but what I'm saying is that Helen Keller was a genius, but there are people who doubted her. And I was listening to one YouTube, and he was saying how maybe she wasn't, it was a hoax, and it wasn't. But still and yet, this woman met 13 presidents, which I heard 13 presidents or something like that. I don't know what type of presidents. Mark Twain, other very prominent people. And those people were very intelligent. And if she was a fake, they would have been able to tell, okay, very easily, okay. And so the only reason why I could think that he would say that she was a fake or a fluke or whatever you want to call it is the fact that she was a woman. And they say, how come it hasn't happened again? Well, look at her situation. She was a genius. She couldn't hear. She couldn't speak. She had a prominent family. She had a family with a lot of resources, and a professor who cared about her more than she cared about herself. She had all those things going for her, which was, how often can that happen in society? Okay, with all those 5 things that I counted in her situation, it would be like impossible to happen again, you know. And I had my friend said, well, would she have still been popular, or would she have still made a name for herself if she wasn't deaf and dumb? I really do believe that she would have, because like I said, her parents had a lot of resources. And not just that, there was another thing, not just her parents had resources, but they believed in her. They let her be free. They let her be whoever she was. So anyway, I was surprised that my friend didn't realize Helen Keller. Well, first of all, she's from another country. And another thing about Helen Keller is I didn't realize that a lot of people knew of her, is because she was very popular in the 60s and 70s. We always saw her movies. We talked about her in school. I think that's where I had to read the book anyway. And so everybody knew about Helen Keller, and I think it was like the 60s or the 70s. That's when there was a lot of movies about her and things like that. So you could learn about her. But the thing about it is, it was a movie, also a very good movie with Patty Duke. Patty Duke, and I gotta tell you, a lot of people don't know about Patty Duke nowadays, but Patty Duke was a very well-known, very talented actor. Okay, and I want to make another point. Yes, I'm talking about Patty. I'm talking about Helen Keller, which was there was a movie about her, and I also spoke about, and I will speak about again, about a movie. It was called Vertical. Why do I put music? Why do I, I'm sorry. Why do I put movies? Talk about movies and serious things like this? Because okay, I study art and I study acting for a long time, and I have it documented on my channel, and it's and it's an entertainment, but it is nowhere. I mean, what happens or what you have to do to make a movie, has nothing to do with the entertainment. I mean, we go to the movies and we enjoy. I now don't go to movies. I went to movies when in the 80s and the 70s and I loved it, but then after a while, it's just like nowadays I don't watch any movies, really. But you can enjoy a movie, but you have no idea. You have no idea what actually has to happen for a movie for you to just go to a movie and just enjoy it and just for entertainment. It has nothing to do. I'm talking about the making of a movie, comedy, I don't know about cartoons too much, but it has nothing to do with entertainment. You're entertained by the movie, even the actors, the characters, all these things are so serious. So when I put in examples of movies and characters in movies, it has to do with the part of the movie and the characters that nobody sees and nobody understands. Okay? When I'm talking about them, it's not just this thing that you go to a movie and eat popcorn and enjoy. Okay? So these are very, very serious things and life-threatening things that you do not even have to worry about. Okay? So I put them in my YouTube because I know where they come. Acting, I know where it comes from. It comes from a thing so serious that you cannot believe. Even music, okay? And you could just sit and listen to your favorite music, and all of a sudden you don't understand the pain and torture in the real life that has to happen for you to enjoy something, okay? So that's why I wanted to tell you, I put these things about movies. I'm very particular and about events in movies and like I'm not bibliography, but biography of Helen Keller, but is coming from that part of the art form, okay? Because now I'm going to mention, okay, so now this thing about individual and Helen Keller, since I explain to you about her because it's so important. Now, with the more education, the more maturity that I get, I can understand, I can tell you, relate to the movie more. I can relate to Helen Keller more, which she's a real character, okay? Last time, I don't know if I said that before, but she's a real character. And the movie was a movie. It wasn't a biography, okay? I'm sure there's a documentary on her, but I talk about the book that I read, which was also, they put it in a fiction type way, so everybody can read it. But there's books about Helen Keller, nonfiction. Okay. So why am I talking about Helen Keller? Because the last time I was watching this movie and thinking about her, and I've been known to her for a long time, I was totally blown away by the book. It's because it showed me about an individual, what we have to do, what happens to us, okay? How I can define an individual. And I can say that her coming up, she was a best example of what an individual is, okay? When she was young, and when you see if you see the movie or you read the book, you can see how she was an individual. She was by herself. You could view her and you could see how an individual begins their life, okay? How rude and how just raw this person is, okay? But she was hidden, or she was like, I'm always mentioning a forest, okay? She's more like a forest. She's in a forest. And you would know that if you been in a mountain. I want to say a mountains forest, okay? In a forest where there's mountains, it's totally different from just a forest. I could say just a forest, but a more unique situation is, and I've been in a mountain in the forest where there's where you're in a mountain and forest, I mean, it's not all mountains where you climb, but it's just like that kind of thing, that kind of existence, to where just picture yourself there all by yourself, okay? And that's where she was, in some kind of forest, and she had her parents, of course, and she got to how can I say, see things. She was just living, okay? I can't say for no reason, but she was just there. I just want to show you that's an individual, okay? And if we didn't have education nowadays, and we didn't have our parents that had to actually learn, we would understand more about what an individual is. But when we're, and it's actually like we are when we are children, and I think a lot of parents don't realize that their parents, that they actually have to discipline their children, because we all were like this thing that Helen Keller was. So it's up to our parents to like tame us, okay? But Helen Keller couldn't be tamed because she couldn't hear and she couldn't speak. And her parents didn't know how to communicate with her. So she stayed in that forest for a long time. She was an individual. I just want you to see how an individual is. That concept of an individual, okay? And like I said, you have to form your own concept of how you feel what I'm relating to you an individual is, okay? So she was an individual. My definition of visual and just an example of a person who is an individual, which I'm telling you, and it's very important that you understand that. Then she had, because of the love of her parents, okay, if her parents didn't love her, she would have ended up in an institution. Most likely. Her parents would have felt bad, but because they didn't, I'm not saying that other parents didn't love them, but her parents were smart. So I had to put another thing on that. Number 6 was that they were intelligent. because I'm sure there were other situations to where there were other Helen Kellers and the parents did not know or couldn't do anything with their child. So they pretty much have to institutionalize this person. You cannot live with somebody like that. The only reason why they were able to live with Helen Keller is because they really had a heart. They really had a heart. And they really loved her. And they were very intelligent. All those things have to be. They have to be intelligent. They have to love her. Okay? Without intelligence, they would love her, but then they wouldn't be able to live with her. They would have to institutionalize her or get somebody to take care of her some kind of way. It's terrible just being an individual just in this type of forest. So that's what they would have had to do with her. But her parents were smart and they wanted to seek out a professor or somebody, a governess or whatever, a teacher. I forgot the name that they used. So they found this lady, and just by God's help, she was the perfect one. She herself had disabilities, okay? So what I'm trying to say is we as individuals are like Helen Keller, okay? Kind of, in a certain situation, like when we first come out of the Jehovah Witnesses. So that's another thing, but I'm still on this individual part. So then what happened to Helen Keller, okay? Her governess or her, I forgot what they call her, a teacher or professor, had to teach her how to act first. Just like a child has to be taught nowadays, okay? Don't do this, don't do that. Don't scream in this. I know because it happened to me, but my parents laid down the rule really quick. In the 60s, they laid down the rule. You had to do this, you had to do this. Nowadays, it's different. But what I'm saying is her parents couldn't do that because they couldn't communicate with her. So they got somebody who was willing to teach her the communication. That was a horror or whatever. So this lady had to teach her how to act first, okay? And it wasn't an easy job. So you can see how this individual was and how this individual could be trained. And she was able to train her how to be this way, how to be that way, how to eat, how to sit without getting up, to control her body, to control herself, her emotions. And she taught her, okay? And she did that, and that was one aspect of being an individual, is the fact that she could learn how to do these things, okay? And she learned and did them very well, okay? And she learned, before it was like she would just, walk around the table when they were eating. They would eat everybody else's food. She would make noises. She would run around, just everything. But then the professor taught her how to act, how to have manners, okay? So, how did she do it? Because she was an individual, like I was saying. The individual that was inside of her, or the individual that Helen Keller, how can I say? I want to put it this way. The individual that Helen Keller was had to tame herself, had to learn how to be tamed and tame herself. It wasn't the professor that was taming her. Her professor was showing her how to tame herself, okay? That's another thing that an individual has, okay? So she learned. and very well. But the professor, it was funny when the parents learned that she was able to act now. They wanted to end because they missed her. They wanted to have fun with her. They wanted to love her. But the professor, and they were saying that she made it. The professor made it. You should be happy. I mean, we didn't believe you, and now we believe you. But the professor, and this is a very important part, the professor said, but I'm not happy. I wanted her to learn about who she was, okay? Who is the person that is being tamed, okay? Who is the person that is taming herself, if you can understand that? And so many times I watched that movie, I never understood that point. I never understood that that she wanted her to be an individual and know that she's an individual, that she is the one that can communicate with her, that she is the person that can understand that she has parents that love her and she can love them back, okay? She wanted her to know that she's an individual in control of her life. Before, she was just like doing it from the motions. And that's one point, the first point that I want to say, that she was just a follower, okay? That's what the point of the professor wanted to say. She's just a follower now. She's doing like an animal. I mean, not an animal, but a domesticated animal who can just have good manners. Okay? And at that point, I would say would be like the Jehovah Witnesses. She was just a follower then. Okay? She was doing things that everybody else had to do. Okay? So as that part of being an individual, she still doesn't know she's an individual. What she knows at that point is that this is the way her mother acts. This is the way her father acts. This is the way the professor has taught her. So she was just going through the motions, but she didn't know that she was an individual. So she had to go to another level. She had to understand that she was an individual. So what happened? Because I don't know what was going on in Helen Keller's mind. Now I want to read a book. I want to see if she has an autobiography, so I could find out what was going on in her mind. But what happened, observing her, she thought, her parents thought that the lessons were over, that she had completed everything. But I'm almost sure it was the professor that made her continually work to find herself, to find her individuality. Because she started disrupting again, doing the things that she did when she didn't know, when she didn't have any manners, okay? And her professor wanted to go to the next level. So she continually started teaching her, okay? And her parents didn't like it in the beginning. No, we finished these lessons. And she goes, no, we're going to keep going. And the only thing that helped her was that her brother, her uncle, was at the table. And her parents said, that's enough. We can't go through this anymore. And her brother stepped in. And I can't say brother, her uncle stepped in. And her uncle said, no, she's right. She has to learn. What I can say, what he was saying is she has to learn about who she is. She has to learn that she is an individual, like all of us. She's like us. She's like me. She's like them. Okay? And because the professor went to the next stage, something triggered Helen Keller. And it's a part to where you only have to understand about being an individual that got her inside of herself to understand, wait, this is, they got it from water actually, but you have to understand. But she went through these things over and over and over again, and then she got the point. Helen Keller got the point. I am alive. I am an individual. I can feel this water. It's not just water that's coming out. I can feel it. I can do things with it. And then she opened up her world by understanding that she was an individual. Okay? So, it's that part. I told you what the part of understanding as a Jehovah Witness follower is. Now I showed you how most of the ex-Jehovah Witnesses are when they leave the organization, or when they realize while they're in the religion that, hey, I'm a person and I see something that's not right. I see something. I'm not saying no. No, this is this way. A follower in the Jehovah Witnesses is not going to question it. No, I can't do this. Like my sister said last time I talked to her. She goes, I said, "Are you going to stay in the Jehovah?" She goes, "I'm going to stay with the Jehovah. I'm going to stay with the Jehovah Witness." You know, that's what she told me. But that with a follower, I'm going to stay with the Jehovah Witness. She was actually telling herself, I don't want to know who I am. I'm sorry to say this, but that's exactly what she was saying. I don't want to know about who I am as an individual. I want to stay with the Jehovah Witness, the Jehovah Witnesses. So now I explained that to you, okay? The Jehovah Witness is, the ex-Jehovah Witness is more like when Helen Keller realized that she's a person, her opinion, she can say that something's right, she can say that something's wrong. The sign language is not just words that was given to her, but she can also make her own words. She can say things now that was in her heart that she couldn't say before. Now she knows she has an expression. She can make up sentences herself. She can, now when the teacher talks to her, she can figure out that, hey, she's saying this, or hey, she's saying that. So that point blank is the individual that I'm talking about, okay? As an ex-Jehovah Witness that I want to put in this thing. It seems like I have to, there's other things that I want to say, but this one's gone on for a long time because I wanted to put in, okay, I guess I can keep talking. So this is going to be long, but I want to end it pretty soon. When I say something, okay, when I believe and not believe in something, or when I come up with these concepts that I have, and you have to make your own concepts, one thing I make sure is it goes along with everybody else, okay, and not because I'm getting ready to show you another concept that I have. That it goes along with everybody else. I believe that people, when they say they believe something, it's true for them. It's like what I believe is true for me in my individual personality, okay? Because God sees us as individuals also, so he wants us to be individuals. That's my point of view. Now, like I said, with Adam and Eve, I believe, or in my perspective, there was Adam and Eve, and God created Adam and Eve. I do believe that there's other people on the earth. There were other people on the earth. The reason why God put them in a paradise, okay? The paradise did not cover the earth, okay? They were encased in a paradise, okay? And in the Bible, like they said, when they left the paradise, when they left the Garden of Eden, there were how can I say? There were, I forgot what kind of angel or whatever, but there were guards. They couldn't go back into the paradise. There were guards. So they were put out with all the other people. However, Adam and Eve were individuals, the first individuals of our God, okay? Because there's other gods. There were other gods on earth, okay? Our God made individuals, okay? Why? Because they thought for themselves. God spoke with Adam and God spoke with Eve. Wait, I don't know if he spoke with Eve. Okay, I'm not going to say things that I'm not sure. But I know he spoke with Adam. Yes, I can say Eve was an individual too. Because she spoke with the serpent or Satan within the tree. Okay, so she had her own personality. She had her own individuality. Okay, so I can say he did make individuals to make their own choices in life. So when they left the garden, they were the first individuals, okay? And those individuals were connected to God no matter what, okay? God created these first individuals. That's what, and okay, the reason why I'm saying that is because these individuals had offspring, and all the individual okay, this is getting kind of complicated, but I want to keep going. What I want to say is that, okay, first I was saying Noah. Okay, we had Noah. Noah was an individual. He was able to speak to God. It's evident that I got something on the oven, so I can't really say too long. So anyway, I gotta finish this. Next time we're gonna talk about the individual and this other concept that I have. So that's it for now. Thank you very much, and I gotta finish this thing on the oven. Thank you. Bye bye.